Hello everyone. Today I'm back with another podcast, and this time I'm not going to be talking about Deltarune or Dioxin. As you saw by the thumbnail, today I'm going to be talking about a rather unique topic. Today I'm going to be talking about the six human souls from Undertale. And as I'm sure a lot of you probably you already guessed, yes, this is somewhat inspired by the very popular fan game Undertale Yellow. You see, the game revolves around the journey of the yellow soul, the soul of justice, throughout the underground. So that made me think what characterization that we might be able to pull from the little small piece of lore we get about the other souls in Undertale. So that inspired me to make this video, and so that's why here we are now. Now, I feel that before we jump into what I think might be the rather little detailed journeys that these souls might have gone through in the game, I just feel like it would be beneficial for us to discuss about some of the more finer details that we know about these souls. Uh, and namely, I want to discuss a few things, such as first and foremost, whether all of those souls were actually children or not. Um, I just want to mention, though it is very popular to say that all the souls that fell down into the underground were children, I don't think you can just say that without evidence. I do believe that yes, some of them were children, but I also want to go through the evidence and say that some of the evidence that people point to really isn't as sturdy as you might expect. For example, in fact, I don't even know that actually. I stopped recording for a moment, by the way. In fact, I don't even know if it has ever mentioned in the game proper that the souls were actually children, and it just might be a headcanon thing, headcanon slash fandom thing that I it's just stuck into my head due to Mandela effect, because like people think that you know the monsters forgot about Gaster and everything, and I believed that due to the fandom Mandela effect and all of that, but that's besides the point. Point is, uh, a lot of people think that all the souls that fell into the underground are actually children, and the thing that I think most people would likely point to is the fact that uh, I think Toriel normally calls them her children or something. I don't know. It's just something that most of the fan works say that, so I'm just want to say that. Anyway, in fact, it's very rare that any monster in the underground actually mentioning the souls is more of people than objects. Like most of them just say souls and don't even refer to them as living things. Anyway, I just want to say, if the evidence you like to use for the souls being children is Toriel or Asgore or even Gerson saying that calling them children and such, uh, that's not exactly proof, because well, the three monsters that I mentioned right now, well, they have been around since the time of the monster and human war, presumably. I say presumably because I don't think we ever got direct confirmation that it was Asgore and Toriel, but I also don't know every single piece of lore about Undertale, so there is that. There are probably going to be minute details I missed. Anyway, it's most definitely that it was Asgore and Toriel, but the point is, since all three of them are very old, they could call a 100-year-old Tibetan monk a child and it would make sense. So yeah, you know, them calling anyone a child would make sense. So that's not a proof. But there is proof that the souls were actually children, because specifically because of their equipment that we find throughout the underground. More, more precisely, for the cyan soul and the yellow soul, it states that their weapons, the I think the toy knife and the toy gun, they're toys. It wouldn't make sense that adults would have toys. So we can safely say that they are children. And, and then there is the blue soul and the green soul, whose items, and even the orange soul, the manly band, not the manly band, the the tough gloves, the the ballet shoes, the and the apron. All three of them are wearable by Frisk, who we can reasonably say is a child, because they are mentioned as a child by monsters other than the three really old monsters. So yeah, then there is that. So we can say out of the six human souls, uh, at least five of them are children. The only one I cannot find any actual proof or any actual sturdy proof is the purple soul, because, well, I just cannot find any, because I don't think there is. They have the book, but you know anyone can carry a book at any age. And also, then there is, yeah, you might say that might the cloudy glasses that are wearable by Frisk might indicate that the wonder was initially a child, but you know they um and the reason I said that the ballet shoes and the apron were, and the tough gloves that proved that they were children, is because things like hand sizes, shoe sizes, and the length of aprons, they severely change with the height of a person, and the size of a person in general. So, and if these children were like 10 to like 15 at max, that would mean that they're you know especially with children, they grow like every 6 months. So uh, something that fits previously, they would not fit then. But then things like glasses, sometimes they might be able to fit even though they are really old, because I don't think the head size of a person changes really that much. Like, I have heard some old spectacles that I used to wear a long time back, and I can confidently say that they probably will fit me even now. In fact, as a child, I used to wear my mother's specs even when I did not have sight, and they would fit on my head perfectly. So, yeah, any other soul other than the purple soul, we can reasonably say they are children because of their clothing size, or the size of their clothes, shoes, and everything, the accessories they wear, for short, right? We can say because of that. I cannot be so sure about the other souls. I mean, I cannot be so sure about the purple soul, because spectacles uh, cannot really indicate that much. Anyway, my stuttering aside, now we move on to another topic. We know for a fact that all of these souls did have the power to reset, and we know this because Toriel, in one of her phone calls, no, not. in one of her phone calls. Mm, no, it is one of her phone calls. Yeah, she upon asking about our flavor preferences, and then if we reset and then she asks again, she is able to guess what flavor wa- we prefer, because she has deja vu regarding the resets, like most of the other boss monsters. I mean, the you know what I mean by boss monsters. I don't mean her and Asgore specifically, the bosses. Yeah, she has deja vu regarding that. And then she goes on to say that every time a human falls down into the underground, every time a human falls down, she feels like she's meeting an old friend or something like that. And this basically indicates that the humans, like Frisk, were able to reset at some point during their journeys, and that's why she feels like that. And I just want to say, I saw a shot the other day saying that this is like a plot hole in Undertale or something. Like, you know, if the humans could reset and everything, how did they end up dying as souls and end up in the jars? And to that, I just want to say, uh, I think people tend to forget one crucial thing regarding that. For us, the player, yes, it would be easy to just reset and try again. But I think people are forgetting one thing. To the characters, such as the souls in game, mm, they are actually dying in those situations. And remember, according to tutorial, or I think probably or someone, it's very well established that the soul is the culmination of one's being. And uh, I would, you know, I would pretty confidently say that getting repeatedly hit in what is the culmination of one's being kind of would hurt, like a lot. Like, think getting punched straight in the heart kind of hurt. So, at some point, and again, as I have established, a lot of at least five of these six human souls are children. At some point, they are going to, get give up the will and just not try to fight again, because they don't want to experience the pain of death again. And it's like a common saying that the fear of death is more painful than the peace that one gets in death itself. Yeah, this is basically like that. If you get more pain in trying to be alive, then you get in just giving up, and you know just giving up. I think at some point someone will take the other route and just give up. So no, this is not a plot hole. It just says that they died so many times that they gave up. But some of you might be thinking though, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense why they, uh, you know, gave up. But why did they reset specifically in the ruins? Uh, you know, the one of the most common ways to reset is like by having the getting the game over. And even Floppy, in his beginning stages, he could only reset after getting very close to being dead. So why would the you know why would the souls have to uh, reset specifically in the ruins? Like, not most of the monsters there are very tough to deal with, and in fact it's one can be considered the most safe place in the game, because Toriel is there to help them. And to that, my dear viewer, I would say, issue though, Well, I would say not really at all. Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, but at no point in the game does Toriel, until her battle, even mention the bullet mechanics of the game. She just says that when a monster attacks, we will enter a fight, and she tells us to strike a friendly conversation, and then she will come near them in the meanwhile and resolve the conflict. Yeah, at no point does she tell us anything about, the fact that we have to dodge the bullets that are being thrown at us. And I'm sure that you probably figured out at this point that if children are getting hurt and have no idea to do anything about it, they probably will not be able to do much about it. Like they were not told anything about being having to dodge anything. They were probably going to be confused because they just got hurt out of nowhere, and it wouldn't take long for them to inevitably get hurt enough that they, meet the game over screen. I want to say because, I said the word dying too many times just at the beginning of the video. As such, it would make perfect sense, assuming that these children have not yet, you know, figured out the save point mechanics. Like, I mean, why would they just feel like, hey, I want to go near this random star, and yeah, I don't think it would be that easy to find out about the saves mechanic. So yeah, and remember, like, uh, from what we know, Flavi was made from the determination extracted from the six human souls, and as such, he wouldn't be there to try and kill them. So, uh, you know, they wouldn't know until they entered a battle with other monsters what dodging even is. So that explains why they had to do at least one reset each at the ruins specifically, because Toriel could not teach them uh, properly enough about what to do in a battle. She tells them what they are supposed to do, but she at no point, at least to us, gives instruction about what the monsters do and how we are supposed to deal with them. And in case you say, yeah, maybe this is just something she forgot to tell to Frisk, uh, considering that uh, by now she knows that she has failed experiences with six other humans, it would I would hesitate to say she would take the most precautions with teaching Frisk, particularly, he- uh, you know, with the battle mechanics. And she even forgot in case of Frisk, so I wouldn't be too sure that she taught it to the other souls either. Like, you know, Toriel seems like the person who would learn from her mistakes. So even after her mistakes, if she doesn't do something, I don't think she would do that before any mistakes happen in the first place. And why would she? From She does not know about resets, so from her perspective, the the humans just already know how to dodge, because they, after a reset, they will probably understand. They would take a moment to think and realize, okay, so maybe I need to dodge these things. Yeah, from her perspective, humans already know these things somehow, and she does not care enough to teach them, which, now that you think about, might even be the reason she does not teach about Flubby. But, like, she should, because if if she saw Frisk getting hit, so she should tell Frisk not to get hit. Anyway, point is, I don't think Toriel really put the total effort that she could have in teaching the humans how to dodge. The last thing I want to discuss regarding all these souls in general, before we get to the rather undetailed parts of each of their individual journeys, is uh, who killed each soul exactly. And well, the answers might be, some of you might answer, well, there each one is found at different places, so you know each one was killed by different people at different places, and that's why they are there. But that really doesn't make sense, especially considering one of their items, the one particularly belonging to the cyan soul, is found in the ruins. uh, and I don't think that any monster other than Toriel is there who is strong enough to face, let alone kill a human enough times that they would give up. Yeah, it would. Yeah, if the human was, say, a very small child, yeah, that might happen. But I don't think that anyone is would be that naive. I don't. I just it just doesn't make sense. Some of you also might answer that uh, somehow all the humans reached a new home, and all of them were killed by Asgore himself specifically. I don't think that might be the answer either, because again, some of the placements does not make sense. Also, I just want to say that some of the item placements cannot be used to mark the places that the humans died specifically. Yeah, for them it makes sense, but like for some of them it makes sense that the place where they died is also the place where their items are found, but for some others it doesn't. I'll get to that, but not now. uh, but like, even if they didn't reach new home, though, it is still possible that Asgore is the one to personally kill all of them, because we know that even after getting the emotional baggage of having to end the lives of six humans, Asgore still, uh, on occasions, goes outside of his castle, as evidenced by the fact that even as recent in the timeline as like a few years, say, before Frisk's arrival, we know that he came to Monster Kids school once to teach them about responsibility, I think. Anyway, he comes to their school once at the very least. So, it still could be Asgore, but it still can't be as, it might not be necessarily. Also, one of the items of the souls, particularly the purple soul, uh, currently is in Gerson's shop. So I don't. We'll get to that later. So anyway, I don't think it's necessarily that Asgore killed all of them, but I don't think it's still possible though that Asgore killed at least some of them, especially since we know that you know some of them did. Some of them probably encountered him or the royal guard at some point. Okay, sorry. Full transparency here. I recorded the previous part of this podcast last evening, and this part I'm recording in the morning after that. So, sorry if I seem like I forgot anything, because I probably did. Anyway, last I left off, I was about to start talking about the what I thought would be the travels of each of the six souls. So I'm going to do that now, starting with the Cyan soul, which has been theorized to have the soul trait of patience, and and their associated items are the faded ribbon and the toy knife. Now I'm just going to come out right and say it that uh, I think that the Cyan soul in particular actually took up Cornell's offer and stayed in the ruins for what I assume to be a majority of their stay in the underground, you know. And I think this because, well, their little trait is patience. So it would make sense that they would have stayed patiently and would have done as tutorial asked them to do. But we do know that they at some point end up getting killed, because their soul is in a jar currently. So how do you think that happened? When, well, there are multiple reasons of, I mean, multiple possibilities. But as I said, I think they stayed at the ruins for a long time. So it was likely that at some point they became friends with some of the monsters there. As such, it is quite likely that at some point they were, uh, you know, at some point, they were playing with their friends and all of that. But before that, just, uh, you know, I wanted to say it in orderly, but you know, okay. At some point, they lost their faded lip ribbon or threw it away because, they had friends. If they had friends, at some point, friends would start taunting them that, there are probably friends that taunted them that ribbons and such were too childish for them and all of that. Yeah, I could see that happening. It's, just a thought. Why would someone give up equipment? I mean, why would someone throw away useful thing otherwise? Like, yeah, they might have gotten better equipment, but other we really don't have any other equipment available in the ruin other than the ones that they used. As and I at some point, I think they either left the ruin or fled the ruins out of fear. And the reason I say out of fear is because of everyone's favorite source of information regarding these six souls, the ball game from Snowden. The ball game from Snowden basically, he, for the light blue soul, or the say I am just going to call it cyan soul, is basically says that you waited still for this opportunity, then it dethroned ball with a sharp attack. Okay. If we assume, rather fairly, I might add, because the soul's weapon, quote unquote, is a toy knife that they were kids. So if they were playing with a monster, like their friend or something, like, playfully fighting or and so on. So, you know, and their item is found near the ruins. So I mean near Toriel's home. So what I'm getting at is, if suppose the Cyan Soul was playing with a monster friend of theirs, and they by mistake, uh, you know, but by mistake they attacked their monster friend. You know, humans are quite more tougher than monsters, so even the slightest attacks can be fatal. So I think you can see where I'm getting at it. If that, you know, they by mistake they attacked the monster and that resulted in said monster's death, you know, if you, and again, this is a child we're talking about, so they in a moment of fear, they might have just fled the ruins from there because they were afraid of the consequences, because lo and behold they would not have known that just playfully attacking a monster would kill them, because Toriel does not mention that to us either. So I'm going to assume she would not have mentioned that to other humans either. So yeah, I basically think that, in summary, the Science Soul stayed in the ruins tutorial. They probably made friends with some of the monsters there, at some point they might by mistakenly attacked one of those monsters with a toy knife, panicked, left, and you know the rest. Uh, Now we get to the orange soul, whose perceived trait is bravery, and their associated items are the manly bandana and the tough gloves. Uh, I okay. According to the ball game, the person is the soul was probably the kind of person who rushes fists first through all obstacles. Um, which in hindsight, I think you all know where I'm getting with this. Uh, a lot of the monsters, specifically in Snowden, and you see they have a neat little trick up their sleeves. A lot of them, such as nearly all of the canine unit, other than I think Lesser Dog, Gift Rot, and if some ancestor of Sans and Papyrus were there, though I highly doubt they were, because skeleton bros are a mystery. Anyway, besides the point. Point is, a lot of the monsters in Snowden have a special neat trick known as blue attacks. Yeah, I think you can see where I'm heading with this. Uh, the bravery soul has specifically the trait of uh, going through going fish first through all obstacles, and the blue attacks, well, they require you to not do that. They require you to stay still. Um, yeah, in hindsight, I think this explains as to why their equipment can be found in Snowden. Yeah, that's a yeah, and also uh, one one of their items, I think specifically the manly bandana, is found in the Snowden Inn. So at some point they, I think that's probably like the farthest they made it, you know, because the inn is in town. So at some point, some monster recognized that it was a human and attacked from them from there. And you know what happens from that. Also, here's a neat thought regarding that, by the way. Mhm. I think that it might have been one of the dogs from the canine unit or one of their ancestors that actually attacked and brought down this human. And I think that because we know from thanks to endogeny that mm, the ancestors of the canine unit were probably situated in Snowden or nearby areas, as endogeny, and you know if that's the case, like if some of the ancestors of the canine unit were at Snowden at that point, if they were like parts of the royal guard themselves, it would make sense why they would attack. Or a more interesting thought, if it was just dog monsters that were not part of the royal guard that actually attacked the orange soul, I can see that actually leading to the formation of the canine unit, because now the royal guard would see that these dog monsters actually have skill in taking down humans, so it would make sense that they would try and recruit dog monsters there. Just that was like a mini theory of mine, but that's besides the point. Point is, the orange soul probably had a very bad time. Yes, that was a reference and to Sans. They had a bad time due to blue attacks, because actually, lo and behold, Toriel does not explain that either. Man, and when I got the idea to make this video, I did not think I would have to, you know, scold Toriel this much in a single video ever. I did not think that would be necessary. Uh, like, she wants to teach the humans things, but she doesn't. From what we see with Frisk, she really doesn't teach it's the humans how to defend themselves. Like, and we do know that she probably knows about blue and orange attacks because, well, Asgore himself uses both types of attacks. Like soul modes, yeah, I can forgive that because Asgore doesn't, and we don't know anything regarding the soul modes, but at least teach the children about the blue and orange attacks, ma'am. Yeah, anyway, my scolding of Toriel aside, yeah, that's what I think happened with the orange soul. Anyway, okay. Now on to the dark blue soul, or uh, the soul, which I have seen at least two AUs who talk about. This the perceived trait of this soul is integrity, but that's not the main thing this soul is mainly known for in the fandom, especially after the release of Undertale Yellow. Oh, the items of this soul are the ballet shoes and the old tutu. The tested tutu, I don't know. Anyway, point is, this is the soul that I have seen discussed most, especially in two particular fandoms, like uh, the Inverted Fate AU and Undertale Yellow. Like, and in both cases, one specific trait about the soul is very well discussed, and that is the fact that they have likely killed many monsters. Monsters, yeah, that's the thing they're known for, and this actually stems from two evidences. One, Papyrus, I think Papyrus it was, or someone else character describes the tutu as being dusty, and in Undertale, when killed, monsters become dusty. Now that alone cannot be basis for the fact that this soul might have killed many monsters, but something else can actually. When wearing the ballet shoes, the narrator describes that wearing them very quote, these usual shoes make you feel incredibly dangerous. Uh, yeah, that and the fact that Undyne of all people actually knows that these ballet shoes are in the place where we find them, because according to I am looking up at the wiki right here, because of course I am that um, like if you call her in that room, she encourages the player to take the ballet shoes because whoever wore them isn't coming back or something along those lines. Uh, it basically implies that she knows that this belonged to human at one point, and she wants the player to have them now because it would be more helpful for them. Uh, in summary, this no, that's all I can pull from this soul. I mean, that's all I can pull. That's all the information I can pull out of this soul's original runner, because that's honestly the only characterization I can think of. So yeah, that's unlike all the other souls. Yeah, genocide route for this soul. That's it. But before we end this section, I just want to say that at some point, I I am seeing looking at the wiki again, and it says that an unused echo flower was in this room, and it says I can't run any longer. Somebody, anybody, but considering this is unused, I would say that initially the integrity soul was meant to be shown in a more sympathetic light, but later it was scrapped in favor of making them you know uh, you know characterizing them as someone who actually killed monsters. So yeah, there is that, and that's all I can say about the integrity soul. Well, other than the fact that they were obviously likely a ballet dancer. Like, even the ball game describes the description for this soul, like It describes something like dancing and such. So there is that. Now we arrive at uh, one I am personally somewhat more excited about, and that is the purple soul, whose perceived trait is perseverance, and whose items can be found in Gerson's shop. And well, till now I was able to give you a comprehensive, like I I was exaggerating. I was able to give you a somewhat decent look into what I thought these souls might have gone through in the underground, but I really cannot do that here that much. Other than two particular, uh, two or three or actually well, four particular things I can tell you about this soul. One, why they might have come near the Abbott Mountain in the first place. Two, how they, you know, escaped Toriel, like escaped the ruins, which I did not really discuss much with the orange and blue souls. Like, the orange soul, they probably, just ran. They probably just ran, and the blue soul, I actually cannot say anything. But the purple soul, I can give you information about. Three, uh, I can tell you like what exactly happened. I can give you like a small theory about what happened with this soul and all of that. But anyway, back to point one. What exactly might have led to the perseverance soul coming into the underground by going near about mountain? Well, uh, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the purple soul is the only soul that I could not find any evidence of them being a child. Uh, with everyone else, their clothing sales and everything, they could have indicated that their owners were children. But with this soul, I really can't find anything. Like the only wearable thing they have is the cloudy glasses, and like I said already, uh, glasses don't really change much with age. I can probably, I'm still a teenager, and I can probably like get my spectacles from back when I was no, like a smaller child, and they would probably still fit me. So I don't think they might have actually been a child actually. But the point is, if they were not a child, and they had uh, like a journal, it seems like their weapon was a literal notebook. I could see them like being a student or like a researcher or something, and they fell into the underground while they were researching something near the mountain. I don't know, like local plant life or local animal life or something along those lines. Well, I gave you an explanation of why they might have fallen into the underground. Yeah, that's all I have. Which is the with the other souls I could not do that because I legit had no idea what a ballet dancer would have would be doing near a mountain, especially with the ballet shoes was on. Like what? But with this I could. Uh, the second thing I want to say regarding the soul is how I think they escaped the ruins. Well, we are back to the ball game. Even when you felt trapped, you took notes and achieved the end of ball. Well, like I did with the Cyan Soul, I think this might um, indicate that as to how the soul escaped the ruins. More specifically, either one, they uh, they used the power of resets to try multiple methods to escape from Toriel, and they did it. it that way, or they actually memorized Toriel's daily schedule in their Tor notebook, used that, and looked for a time when Toriel would definitely not be at the ruin entrance and escaped that way. Unfortunately, though, we really don't have any confirmation about any of this because um, for some reason Frisk does not uh, want to look at the Tor notebook apparently. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up the description for the Tor notebook right now. Right. According to the narrator, who I'm fairly confident is Chara, the first fallen human, uh, the Tor notebook contains, quote, illegible scrawls, which, I mean, relatable. My handwriting is very legible too. Hmm. Anyway, yeah. Oh, that, and I think now is would be a good time to mention that I think that the Purple Soul might have actually stayed with Gerson for like their stay in the underground, and I say this because of two particular things. One, uh, Gerson has their items, and I considering that Gerson probably not probably he is confirmed to have fought in the human and monster war. He knows what humans look like, and I personally think that he might have offered the Purple Souls item to Frisk because he recognizes that we are a human and he wants to help us. Because point two, Gasson is actually against Asgore's decision of going to war with the humans once again, because probably because he knows how bad it can get during a war because he fought in the first one. In other words, and also there is some additional evidence that I can pull up, because as I mentioned, it is possible that the Purple Soul was curious and somewhat of a researcher themselves, quote unquote, or at least a nerd at the very least. And we also know that Gerson is actually somewhat of a researcher himself, because uh, by the time we are playing an Undertale, he is currently researching the Deltarune, the thing from the game Deltarune, in a way. Because and if anyone would be willing to give a human shelter other than Toriel, it would probably be Gerson, because again, he probably recognizes that we are human in the more pacifistic route, but still offers us help by selling us items, and he offers the items of the Purple Soul to us. So I think if anyone would be willing to help a human, it would be Gerson. Well, other than Toriel, of course. So yeah, I think the Purple Soul either stayed with Gerson, or ulterior theory, um, both the Purple Soul and and the Blue Soul from earlier, they were actually caught by Gerson, because we know for a fact that he patrolled the regions of waterfall before Undyne was captain, because we know for a fact from talking to him and Undyne that Undyne followed him around, uh, and while he patrolled in the waterfall, and he apparently used to beat up bad guys or something. I don't know. He probably just patrolled for fun, or maybe he was in part of the royal guard. That makes sense, because Undyne, she obviously idolizes him, and if he was a part of the royal guard, it would make sense that she would later on want to be part of the royal guard herself. So there is that, but I don't think personally that Gerson would be part of the royal guard, because he is against the war. Point. Okay. In summary, the perseverance soul probably came to Mount Tibet for things such as studying or research. They fell down in the ruins and used their memorization skills and all, or resets, or taking notes and keeping track of tutorials timetable to get out of the ruins. And at some point, they were either captured by Gerson or they were uh, given shelter by Gerson, who we know was against the human and monster war again. That's my reading on the Purple Soul. Now we have the Green Soul. Um, this soul's most perceived trait was kindness, and this and their associated items were the burnt pan uh, and I think the torn apron. Uh, I really don't know. It was an apron, uh, and like the other souls, we probably know that they were children because their apron fits Frisk. Uh, I really don't have much things to say about this soul in particular, though I'm probably going to give it. I say that, but like I'm looking at the timing of recording, and I am realized that I'm probably going to make a rant about this soul. Anyway, we know I can speculate a few things from mm, like I did with the Purple Soul and the Cyan Soul. I think their ball game description might give evidence as to how they left the ruin. Your concern and care for Ball led to a delicious victory. If we, okay, it's really speculation here, but say that the Green Soul was one of, if not the first soul to fall down into the underground after, obviously after Chara and their death and all of that jazz. If they were the first one to fall down after that, and you know they were taken care by Toriel, and if they showed Toriel kindness and convinced her that they would survive in the underground, and if that's the case, if they were one of the earlier humans to fall down, I could see Toriel actually like letting them go outside the ruins, to live their life the same way she does with Frisk and the Password route, even without fight. Particularly with the Greensword, I don't think she even fought them, because at this point, if the Green Soul, if they were uh, one of the earlier humans to fall down, again this is speculation, but just uh, if that's the case, at this point, Asgore would not have murdered anyone. So, in Toriel's mind, uh, he was still redeemable, and you know he might have would be, and he would probably be swayed to see against murdering humans by the Green Soul's kindness. In fact, but as we all know, that was a mistake, and if either Asgore or one of the royal guards eventually did end up killing the Green Soul. In fact, that is the reason I think in Undertale proper, as we know right now, I think that's in fact the reason that Toriel wants a Frisk to prove themselves before they can pass. Uh, she might be remembering like, okay, you are kind, but I let one kind person go outside the ruins once before. Uh, I let one kind of person go out of the ruins once before and they did not make it. So, no, I'm not going to let you leave the ruins just because you are a nice person. I want you to prove yourself in combat to me so that I know for a fact that you will be safe. Yeah, I can actually see Toriel doing that, by the way. Like, for me, it seems in character that if she makes a mistake, like she lets someone go just because they're thinking that their kindness might overcome the odds, but that it turns out to be a mistake. I can see her then going that her then realizing that kindness alone cannot prevail, and she might need to train the humans to take care of themselves first in combat so that they can survive outside. Oh, also, quick fun fact, by the way, uh, I'm from what I know, other than the bravery soul, all who's all the other than the bravery soul, the the kindness soul is the only other soul whose weapon you get before you get their armor. So, and again with the bravery soul it's more debatable because it's a dimensional box, so for all we know, they could have left it get hard landed, and the dimensional box would still allow their item to appear in Snowden. But this anyway, the green souls also items, it is the one of the only instances in which we get a we get their weapon mm, before we get their uh, armor items. So that might be like a small nod to the fact that they were more willing to give up violence before they were willing to give up willing to give up their life. So yeah, that might be like a small bit of characterization, I don't know, but yeah, you have it. There you have it. And now we have the yellow soul, the one who's and the one who which is featured in Undertale Yellow, and the one which kind of inspired this entire video idea in the first place. Um, well, I, I, unfortunately, unlike Undertale Yellow, I really cannot say much about their characterization other than the fact that, well, I can give you a few small fun facts. In Undertale Yellow, uh, in the end of the pacifist route, we see their items being uh, their items being deposited in the junkyard of the waterfall, and in Undertale canon we know from Cat and Bratty that they get most of their things from waterfall, and specifically I think one of them says that they get the toy gun specifically in the junkyard junkyard. So yeah, there is that. Huh. Other than that, I really cannot say anything, unfortunately. But hey, I guess it gives artists some artistic liberty for the Undertale team, because we did not get much characterization about the Yellow Soul, so they did not have to worry about canon. Yeah, there is that. But before we go though, I actually want to discuss a few more things before I end this video and this podcast, and that is, uh, first of all, I want to say a few things regarding these humans. From what we know, there is one standard protocol as to how the Royal Guard actually recognizes humans. And we know that this is likely standard protocol because this technique is used by both Undyne and the Royal Guards over at Heartland. I think their names were Royal Guard 1 and 2. I don't remember the numbers. Anyway, the way that they recognize humans is through their clothes, because most monsters have not seen humans in their life, which actually explains as to why most of these humans like items are found somewhat far apart. Like, if the humans came to know that the way the monsters are recognizing them is through their clothes, it would make sense that they would either throw away their one of their distinguishing features like a bandana or their gloves, so that they won't be recognized. In fact, the it seems that the integrity soul in particular went through a lot of trouble to specifically even go as far as hiding their old tutu, because they were probably more wanted than the other humans due to the aforementioned and fact that they probably killed more monsters. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that basically monsters recognize humans not through their soul, like gazing into their soul or anything. They probably just recognize through, oh, you look like you have a striped shirt, you're a human. Like, mm, I just came up with a mental image. Like, imagine if both Frisk and Monster Kid, like they both had wore the same type of clothing. From far apart, you think Undian would have, oh, like went, like not necessarily like tried and attacked, but just tried and chased Monster Kid instead. Like that's a funny mental image, right? Anyway, there are two other points I want to discuss. One being the golden flowers symbolism in Undertale. Uh, while researching this video in particular, I came across a few facts regarding the golden flowers, and that is that they seem to symbolize death and possibly rebirth in Undertale. Uh, because, and I say this because of three particular facts. Um, the three particular facts are: one, the biggest flower bed of the golden flowers is found at Asgard's castle. Asgard, who is associated with killing seven human children. And then one other flower bed can be found there in the ruins, where to it is highly speculate. It's speculated and highly likely that Toriel buried the first human child, Chara. Uh, I don't Chara. I don't know how to pronounce their name. Honestly, it can be pronounced in many ways. It's kind of frustrating now that I think about it. Anyway, uh, there is two, and then there is one, uh, and then there is one spot you might think is likely, unlikely, and actually it has some. I think it has something to do with the yellow soul. So yeah, and that is the one found near the waterfall junkyard. I think at some point the human who is the human with the yellow soul, they fell down on at this place, specifically in the junkyard, and they either met their death there, because um, and I think that they were the ones who, like, it was from their body that the yellow flowers started blooming at that area, because I think at some point someone mentioned, no, it was Alphys specifically who mentions that the yellow flowers, no, the golden flowers, they have some somewhat sticky seeds. So yeah, I think that this, I think that the flower bed in waterfall is where the yellow soul died. So yeah, uh, 3 on 3 with the golden flowers blooming in places near death. Oh, by the way, I said that hmm, you know a flower bed of golden flowers is found near Asgard's castle. Well, it's very likely that that's also near the place where Azrael died after coming back from the surface, because his essence. Uh, it's very likely that that's the place he died after coming back from the surface, and all of that. Oh, and all on top of all of this, the self-proclaimed god of hyperdeath is a golden flower. Yeah, Flavi, he is a golden flower. So you know, it's very obvious that the golden flowers have a symbolism with death, but they can somewhat be also associated with safety of humans, because uh, like out of three, two times they break the fall of Frisk's fall first in the ruins and then in the waterfall. Both time they somehow uh, like I'm not um, that much of a scientist, but I don't think flowers can really break that much of a fall. But they somehow break Frisk's fall and they save their life. So there you go. There is somewhat of a symbolism with the golden flowers in Undertale. Now, the last part of this video, I just want to discuss a, a small mini question of mine. Uh, do you guys think that Chara was able to reset? Like, do you think they had enough determination? They could reset. But I don't know because honestly, there are proofs either way. Uh, the first one being if the narrator's Chara theory is true, which it highly likely is at this point. If that's true, mm, like at the even at the very first save point, like they don't seem surprised that there's a save point. So there, that might be evidence that they knew about resets. Um, and on top of that, they give us death voice lines from Asgore to motivate us to get back up. So there is that, and but most of the evidence points to the fact that they might not have been able to reset. Uh, and I say that because of two particular things. One, you might be thinking my proof is well, they did not reset after they died from poisoning and Asgore, not Asgore, Azrael absorbed their soul. But no, that's not my point. As I already mentioned, I think it's possible that the souls can voluntarily choose not to reset after their death and you know allow their souls to be absorbed like that. But mm, my proofs still comes from a point uh, correlating to that, and that is with Chara's plan along with Azrael to save all of monster kind. uh, Basically they were like, Chara was going to die, Azrael would absorb their soul, go to the surface, kill six humans, bring their souls, absorb them, barrier breaks, that's all. That was the plan that these two children came up with. uh, I'm concerned for their mental health now because uh, this, that sounds somewhat dangerous. Anyway, that said, like, but as we all know, because Azrael resisted and did not want to hurt the humans, this plan failed. And now, how and herein lie two counterpoints to the fact that Chara probably could not reset. And those two facts are: one, considering that this plan was very likely going to be very dangerous, if Chara really was aware that they could reset, they really have no reason to not tell Azrael about this and say, okay, I have this really cool ability. Um, if you absorb my soul, you might inherit it too. So, in case something goes wrong, reset. You can do that. And also, and we know that after Azrael dies, he could not reset. He did not reset because the timeline went on as usual. Uh, and in case you might say that he did reset and everything, I don't think so because if he reset to after absorbing Chara's soul, he would probably not even go to the surface next time. And if he was somehow able to reset back to when Chara was not alive, he probably would have been able to convince Chara to not give up their life. Because he knew that he could not go through with the plan. And also, upon meeting Flobby in the genocide route, like at the very end, he says he never mentions that Chara knew about resets or anything like that. Um, like he says that he how he found about resets, but he never mentions, "Hey Chara, I finally found out about the things you told me back then. Back then I thought you were like crazy or something, but hey, now I can reset too and everything like that." He never mentions anything like that, and both of them were best friends. So if Chara could reset, I think there was some, sorry if there was any animal noise in the background. Anyway, like if Chara could reset, I find it highly likely that they would have told Azrael about this. The fact that they didn't indicates to me that they probably could not have reset. And with that, with all of my rants out of the way, we have reached the end of this video. Unfortunately, I could not ask the community uh, for questions on the subreddit this time, but I probably will next time. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching and bye for now.